right, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the New Ridgeline podcast. I'm Devin Dungan, and here with me, as always, is Mr. Stephen Mott. How you doing, brother?
Great brother Jake Z Drummer.
All righty, so we are back with our second episode that we recorded this year. Our first episode has already come out that we recorded this year, but yeah, this will kick off a new series of reviews for us. So we're going to be knocking out the Van Halen discography. So we're going to go pretty much two albums at a time. I think we're going to go ahead and do the two live albums and the couple of compilations. Let's just go right on into it. So the track by track here, the first song on here is Running with the Devil. So to me, it's a classic Van Halen track. I mean, I like the bass intro with Michael Anthony. I love that. It's a good way to kick it in. Then you have like the little siren that precedes it. That kind of gives this weird tone to the whole thing. So Steve, take Running with the Devil.
Yep, well, Running with the Devil. I mean, like you said, it's just like my personal opinion has just been formed over like a lot of hearing it over and over. So,
But yeah, really good song. So the next track on here is Eruption. So this is Eddie Van Halen basically saying, hey, here is the world's greatest guitar right here on your stereo. I mean, it's a game changer of a instrumental. I mean, great stuff. And this would kind of mark a pattern in Eddie's kind of appearances on the albums. I mean, every album you pretty much get an Eddie Van Halen instrumental, and then for a while during the Hagar era you didn't, but then he would pick it back up toward the end there. But yeah, great stuff. Love it. Usually on the radio, this song is generally played with the one coming up here, which we'll get into. So this is kind of somewhat a radio staple as well. So Steve, take Eruption.
well, Eruption. I mean, it's very popular, especially now among YouTube and such. Lots of people make reaction videos out of it and all this such. But I mean, I don't know what else to say that's already been said about it. It's great. And Eddie, he does a solo for every show as well as all the other band members, and he always plays the the main tapping riff here, in it, and that's one of, as Sammy Hagar says, is one of his finest pieces. Back to you, Devin.
Alrighty, so speaking of that, you really got me. So this is a cover of the Kinks, and really and truly the versions aren't that different. I mean, the kind of the base of the song is pretty much the same. I mean, you've got verse, chorus, but to me, Van Halen just kind of beef it up and they make it their own. And I think I do prefer this version to the original Kinks version. The Kinks version to me is just, it's more like raw, kind of like proto punk in a way. It's kind of like a raw garage band type song, but I do like that version as well. But yeah, this is I mean, it's a classic. It it's just a classic song. I mean, what can I say? I mean, like you said earlier. I mean, what more can you say about a lot of this? But yeah, I mean, it's classic. Played on the radio constantly. I hear it all the time. So yeah. So Steve, take You Really Got Me.
Okay, and this is another one that's very prominent on the radio even today. And as so is a lot of these on here. I can look at about three that I've heard just in the past month on the radio, uh, on the jet. But if you know, you know with that one. Anyway, so track number three, You Really Got Me. And I mean, like, if you were to look at like a greatest hits album of Van Halen, I mean, I mean, look at this album, and you pretty much gonna see a lot of it on there. So back to you, Devin.
All right, so that brings us to the next track on here, Ain't Talking About Love. So great song. Another one that's all over the radio. You hear it all the time. A classic. Another one of the few songs that was performed with Sammy Hagar in the band. You Really Got Me was also performed, but I guess whether you count it as a classic Van Halen song or not, with him, I mean, I guess, because I mean, it is technically a cover, but yeah, I mean, Ain't Talking About Love, great song, love it. I love just the music portion of it, just the instrumentation on the song is great. I mean, just a really great track, all in all. Totally deserves to be one of their greatest hits and best known songs. Love it. So, Steve, take Ain't Talking About Love.
Well, here we go again. 3 minutes and 50 seconds of crap. Now I'm just playing, but it is 3 minutes and 50 seconds. And I mean, I just don't know. Track number 4. Ah! Uh, yeah, I mean, this one was played a lot live. Sammy did it, and I can't remember if Gary Sharon did it or not. Probably did. But so back to you, Devin.
All righty. So, you took the words right out of my mouth there. The next track on here is I'm the One. This is kind of what I would consider to be an album track. And I really enjoy this song. This one actually has some kind of shades of doo-wop in it. And I know that's kind of weird for it being Van Halen and doo-wop. I kind of see a little bit of doo-wop in some of the harmonies that this band has. I mean, Michael Anthony and Eddie singing along behind David Lee Roth and all. And I mean, this also kind of shows you where Diamond Dave would go in like his solo career with doing like Your Filthy Little Mouth with the blues stuff on there, and then Crazy from the Heat with kind of the R&B type stuff that's on there. I mean, it's just kind of like a melting pot of a bunch of different influences. You got heavy metal, blues, kind of doo-wopish stuff, and then on the next record, I mean, you even got a straight up R&B song on there. But
I'm the One. 3 minutes and 47 seconds. Yeah, I mean it's a good one, but I'm just like, okay, yeah, that's a good tune, and it's kind of like what you would think of Van Halen as the backing vocals, and I mean this is a prime example of, I mean, the great backing vocals that this band is capable of. So back to you, Deb.
all righty, so we then move to the next track. Jamie's Crying. So we're back to kind of the greatest hits, the ones that everyone knows. I mean, this is a great song. I mean, I love the drum intro. The drum intro was sampled on the song Wild Thing by Tone Loc, and that was in the late 80s, I believe, mid 80s, late 80s, something like that. And it's great. This is another one where this is kind of to me like Van Halen doing doo wop in a way. I mean, just a lot of the chorus and all the harmonies and stuff like it reminds me of like something like the Temptations or the Platters or something like that. I mean, it's just like I said, a melting pot of a bunch of different influences, and I love the song. I mean, it's on the radio all the time. This was oddly left off. I believe it wasn't on the greatest hits from '96. I believe it was. I know it was on the Best of Both Worlds because that was all the singles that the bands released,
But Jamie's Crying. Yeah, it's a great song. I hear it on the radio sometimes on the jet. I've heard it once or twice, and it's a great one. So back to you, Devin.
all righty. So the next track on here, Atomic Punk. So to me, by far, this is the most interesting song on here musically and probably the most complex. This is a really, really cool song. I love the whole intro with the the effects and all, kind of this phaser effect type thing with the ride cymbal and all going on at the beginning of the song. Love it. I just love this song. It's very heavy. I mean, this is kind of, to me, the Black Sabbath influence kind of shining through on this record. And I really love this song. I think I've always loved this one. This is another one that I kind of look at to be an album track, but maybe not, like I said, not a deep cut. I don't think there's a song on here that's a deep cut, really. Maybe one toward the end of the album, I would say, is a deep cut, but still, all in all, I love the song. Great, heavy stuff. I have seen Diamond Dave perform this a number of times live, like on the previous that he did with Kiss and all. He was performing this song in like the Las Vegas residency. But I mean, great stuff. Love the song Atomic Punk, classic Van Halen. So Steven, take Atomic Punk.
Well, yeah, like you said, I mean, this was, I mean, one of the lesser popular, but that's not saying much. But because, I mean, it's going to be kind of hard to beat. For You Really Got Me, for example. You know, it's going to be really hard to beat. On an album of all-star tracks like this, you're going to look at something like this Atomic Punk track and say, well, I mean, it doesn't quite measure up, but at the same time, it's not meant to be pop. You know, this is a song that's kind of like in the same realm to me as I'm the One on this record. It's uh it's an example of Eddie coming up with a great riff, and it's more of a it's a it's like something that you don't hear. It's just typical rock riffs. It's different than that. You know, it's not just typical open chord rock riffs. It's it's just different. You know, and so back to you, Devin.
Alrighty, so the next track on here is Feel Your Love Tonight. So this is a little bit more straightforward rock with this one. This one, another one that I absolutely love. This is another one that is kind of an album track, in my opinion. And I saw them when they were doing the Van Halen 3 tour. I have a bootleg from that tour where they did a medley of Dance the Night Away into this song, and it melded perfectly together. And I just love the song. Once again, the harmonies. I love the harmonies. I love the breakdown where they're singing the chorus without hardly any instruments behind them and all. I love the song. It's just a fantastic track. It's another one. This one actually kind of gives me a little bit of like an R&B type vibe, and I love it. I've always loved this song. This to me is one of my favorites on the record. If I had to pick a favorite right now, I'd probably pick "I'm the One" as my favorite track on here. But yeah, "Feel Your Love Tonight," great song. So Steven, take "Feel Your Love Tonight."
Well, what stood out to me about this track is that it's a great riff, number one, and number two is I don't know if you'd call it a breakdown. It's not a breakdown, but it's just kind of like a guitar break in the song. And every time it gets to that part, I really like that part. It's like between the second verse and the chorus, I guess you could say. But sorry for my coughing. But just stuff like that, because Eddie can he can sound like a classic rock guitarist and and still sound better than everybody else at the same time. But like he always said that in his interviews and stuff, like I've read in this book of interviews of his, that he just wanted to do solos that fitted the songs. And you know, if it was a flashy, if it was super flashy, which most of his solos were, and filled with dive bombs and pinch harmonics, of course. And besides that, you got stuff like, you know, something like this that's more suited toward a, let's say, classic rock, something along those lines. And I don't know, classic's not the word. I guess you get what I'm trying to say. It's just saying it sounds more old school rock. Let's say that, something like that. But anyway, that's the vibe I got from it. And I guess this was an original, but for some reason it doesn't sound like. And Devin's probably gonna correct me if I'm wrong, but according to Wikipedia, it's an original, and it doesn't seem like something they would write. Honestly, it sounds a little bit something like along the lines of "Say You Really Got Me." It sounds like a cover, for some reason. But anyway, so great song. Back to you, Devin.
All righty. So we then move to the next track, Little Dreamer. So this is another kind of deep track on here. This is the one I would say is a actual deep track, but it of course it is an album track and very kind of bluesy. And people who say like Diamond Dave could never sing, I beg to differ with this song. I mean he doesn't have like he has a very different voice as a singer. I mean it's not like he's not like say a Sammy Hagar who has this kind of very high pitched sort of rock voice. Diamond Dave has this very kind of avant-garde type voice as a rock singer. But I still think, I mean, he is a great singer. I mean, I don't get the hate for Diamond Dave. And even now, I really don't think he is that horrible. I mean, on the live album and stuff from the Japan and all, yeah, he was pitchy here and there, and he was kind of off key here and there. But I mean, it's still, I mean, not bad. I mean, there's other singers that are a lot worse off than he is in terms of vocals and stuff like that. But I mean, A Little Dreamer to me, it's a great song. I love it, and not much else to say other than that. I really do enjoy the song. Just a great track. So, Steve, take Little Dreamer.
Well, thing, but I've just got to comment on this. Dave's vocals. I think I read somewhere where Eddie said it might not have been true, but that Eddie said it. But I think it sounds like something that probably is true. He said that Dave Dave had a way of, especially live, kind of bullcrapping his way through a song. So back to you, Devin.
Alrighty, so we then move to the next track, Ice Cream Man. So this is a cover of the John Brim song, and I don't think I've ever heard the original version of this song, but yeah, this is an actual blues song. I mean, I was talking about the previous song had elements of blues in it. This is an actual blues song, and I love it. It's kind of a novelty type song, but I love it. I love the live version from the Tokyo Dome or whatever. I always want to say that album came out 2016. It may have. I can't remember exactly, but I just love it. I love it. I always quote when he did it live on that CD. He said, "It's ice cream time." Oh, I love that. It was like you said earlier, a showman. Diamond Dave is a showman. If his vocals are off, I mean, he could still, like you said, not trying to sound negative, but bull crap his way through a show. I mean, he could make it entertaining even if he was having an off night. But I love it. It's great. It's classic. I mean, quintessential Van Halen to me. I mean, it starts acoustically with Diamond Dave on acoustic, and then goes right on into this very Van Halen classic sounding Van Halen song. I mean, nothing much different from the stuff we've heard prior on the record. I mean, it's a great cover. Love it. Great song. So Steve, take Ice Cream Man.
Well, Ice Cream Man. I mean, this is one that is another perfect example of one that they were thinking ahead. And this is just what in my opinion, but I think they were thinking ahead and going, this is going to sound great live. Great song. So back to you, Devin.
All righty, and talking about the covers, like in terms of multiple covers, yeah, Diver Down, but there are a couple of covers on the next couple of records. There's, I think, one apiece on the next couple of albums, but I digress from there. But also a little footnote here: Diamond Dave did re-record this song with some weird backing band. I think it was Greg Gaines, I think, was part of the band. It was a few people. I think Edgar Winter was part of it or something. And it was on the Diamond Dave record, which is an oddball record he did in the early 2000s, which was nothing but covers except for a stupid instrumental and then like a great, legit original Diamond Dave song. And it was just a more blues based version, kind of R&B based version. It was a lot of piano and saxophone, horn section, stuff like that, background singers. It was very theatrical, Las Vegas Diamond Dave in a lot of ways. But yeah, great song. So Steve, take On Fire.
My mic would not unmute for nothing. But anyway, On Fire. The guitar part you're referring to is harmonics, but yet it's at the 6th fret, which is kind of weird. And you have to have your guitar very hot. You have to have some hot pickups to pick it up.
All righty. So yeah, I would agree with the whole thing with first dumb of the night, people. But I would agree. This is probably, in terms of album tracks, maybe this is the one I would say is possibly filler. But I mean, I digress. Not going to get in a fight here with a bunch of people over that. But I mean, I still love the song regardless. But yeah, that's the end of the record. So I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that was thrown around as demos prior to this. I mean, some of the stuff made the later albums, like, well, I'm not even going to get into it because we'll talk about it on some of the later records. But yeah, I mean, this is the first Van Halen record. It set the tone for things to come, and I can't say much else other than that about it. So, I mean, my rating for the record, it'd be probably a solid 10 out of 10. I mean, to me, this is a perfect record. I mean, I don't see any flaws in this album. I mean, this changed the face of music. It pushed rock and roll forward at a time when, I mean, disco was ruling, and I mean, the music had changed, and this sound would carry on throughout the 80s, and eventually it would be pushed aside for something else with grunge and all. But I mean, Van Halen did press forward on even through then. So I mean, great record. So Steven, what is your rating of the record?
Well, I think that this is definitely the first Van Halen record. And also that I don't know. I mean, just as my opinion as of right now, a rating would be, I would say, probably 8 out of 10. So back to you, Devin.
All righty. So yeah, that is it. That is the first Van Halen album and our first in a series of Van Halen reviews. Yeah, that is the record. So now on to picks of the week. So a movie and a CD. So I'm going to pick first up here a CD I listened to this morning. So Motorhead 1916 from 1991. So this is basically Motorhead going commercial, but it still sounds like Motorhead. It's great. I mean, really strong record. Title track, the one to sing the blues, I'm So Bad, Baby, I Don't Care, Going to Brazil, Angel City's great, Ramones, Ramones, it's a great song. I love the whole record. I mean, you've got some weirder songs on it like Nightmare Dream Time and Love Me Forever, which is kind of different for the band, but still great stuff. I mean, even the title track's really different for the band, but really, really good stuff. And my movie, thought I would have this picked out, but I didn't because I haven't had a chance to watch the one that I was thinking about picking because I'm expecting to really like this movie. But I'm going to pick the original Dirty Harry from 1971. Great, great movie. So, Steven, what are your picks of the week?
Well, I mean, I don't know. This was definitely the first Van Halen album, and my picks of the week are, I mean, the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and for the movie because it's just interesting, and I'm gonna watch it soon or whenever I get a chance. And also, let's see, for music, it would be something like Y&T. Y&T Live from the Mystic. It's just something I've been listening to and dabbling in, and that's the only thing by Y&T I've actually heard at all. But I actually like that live record. I don't know why I chose that of all things to listen to first by them, but I just wanted to hear. I like to hear live albums by bands that I don't know because it gives me a good impression of them. But anyway, so back to you, Devin.
That is the podcast. Hope you all enjoyed. And as I always say to close this thing out, God bless you all and see you next time.